Welcome back to our continuing series of videos on the 2013 NCAA Men's Basketball Championship, March Madness, NCAA Men's Basketball Bracketology, South Region time. Now, in the South Region, we're moving to the right side of your brackets here, and that sets up the following matchups in the South Region. Have number 1 Kansas versus number 16 Western Kentucky. Number 8, North Carolina versus number 9, Villanova. Number 5, VCU taking on number 12, Akron. Number 4, Michigan taking on number 13, South Dakota State, sorry. Number 6, UCLA taking on number 11, Minnesota. Number 3, Florida taking on number 14, Northwestern State. Number 7, San Diego State taking on number 10, Oklahoma. And number 2, Georgetown, taking on number 15, Florida Gulf Coast. In the South Region, these are my locks to make it from the round of 64 into the round of 32. Number 1, Kansas. Number 8, North Carolina. Number 5, VCU. Number 4, Michigan. Number 3, Florida. Number 10, Oklahoma. And number 2, Georgetown. So the only game in the round of 64 in the South Region that I'm sort of iffy on is that 6v11, that UCLA versus Minnesota game. On my Fuck Canada the Fourth bracket, I have UCLA winning that game, and that's probably the bracket that I'm leaning towards. I'm leaning towards UCLA winning that game. But on my Bridgewater's Finest bracket, I have Minnesota winning that game. So that, as far as I'm concerned, kind of a coin flip. But as far as the games into the round of 32, I believe it's a lock that number 1 Kansas is going to play number 8 North Carolina. I think it's a lock that number 5 VCU is going to play number 4 Michigan. And I think it's a lock that number 10 Oklahoma is going to play number 2 Georgetown. And the other game there, I think number 3 Florida, for sure, is going to play the winner of that UCLA versus Minnesota game. Again, leaning towards UCLA there. In the South bracket, getting out of the round of 32 and into the Sweet 16, my lock teams are number 1 Kansas, number 3 Florida, and number 2 Georgetown. So again, kind of depends on what happens there in that VCU versus Michigan game in the round of 32. I'm iffy on that one. I don't know really which way that's going to go. On my Fuck Canada the Fourth bracket, I have Michigan beating VCU, but I'm actually pretty high on VCU, and I think they've played very well this year. So on my Bridgewater's Finest bracket, I have VCU beating Michigan. So that sets up the following games in the Sweet 16 from the South Region. I think it's a lock that number 3 Florida plays number 2 Georgetown. And I think number 1 Kansas plays either VCU or Michigan in the Sweet 16 as well, again leaning towards Michigan. In any case, my lock teams to make it out of the Sweet 16 and into the Elite 8 from the South Region is number 1 Kansas and number 3 Florida. I honestly think Florida beats Georgetown. I'm a big believer in the Hoyas, but I honestly think Florida's got some magic that they're running on right now. So I honestly think Florida gets the better of Georgetown there and makes it into the Elite 8. Now, from the Elite 8, going into the Final Four, the South Region Championship game, I think it is a lock that number 1 Kansas plays number 3 Florida, and in that case, I have number 3 Florida taking out number 1 ranked Kansas and winning the South Region to represent them in the Final Four. So again, if you're looking for a team to ride, again, you can kind of ride your top couple of seeds there, unless you're kind of high on VCU beating Michigan. I think you can ride Kansas all the way to the Elite 8. I think you can ride Florida all the way to the Final Four. So the South Region was relatively straightforward for me, kind of like the Midwest was, except for who wins the Midwest Championship game. I'm really confident that Florida beats Kansas in the South Region Championship game to go on to the Final Four. So I really think you can ride number 3 Florida all the way into the Final Four. So that's it. Very brief for the South bracket. I think it is going to run relatively straightforward and hopefully right to the point. So we're going to move on now to the East bracket in the next video. The East bracket gets a little confusing, kind of like the West bracket, but not quite as bad, I don't think. So we're going to move on to the East bracket. Thank you very much for watching and for continuing on our series of the 2013 NCAA Men's Basketball Championship.